Your brain is probably living in the future right now, imagining the problem that doesn't exist yet. What if I told you that the 10 seconds, just 10 seconds of your sensory awareness could start rewiring your brain, calm your nervous systems, and help you actually live in the present? Hi, I'm Dr. Shambhu Yadav, a neuroscientist and stress biologist from Harvard Medical School. Let's start with this scenario. The morning light comes in slowly, stretching across room, brushing against wall and furniture in a way that is almost imperceptible. Most people see it as the just light, a signal that the day has started. But for someone practicing presence, it is a doorway, invitation to arrive here and now. You notice it. Noticing is the first act of grounding. It is a subtle, almost invisible, yet profound. The brain, when trained to notice, shifts its pattern. The default mode of panic, the racing anticipation of future threat, begin to quit. Just slightly at first and then more noticeable. The world doesn't feel like a threat anymore. Not in this moment. You are alive on the sensory reality for your existence. Your body speaks continuously even when you are not listening. The tight shoulder, clenched jaw, shallow breathing, restlessness, feet, these are all signals. The nervous system is a storyteller, narrating its the perception of the world. When it tells a story of danger, the brain listens. Panic, anxiety, and stress are just words for this narrative. But the story can be rewritten. When you pause, when you breathe, when you notice texture, temperature, and color, you are editing the script. You are sending a message that presence is possible and that safety is real and that world can be inhabited without constant vigilance. It is a subtle training, like lifting weight for the mind and nervous system, invisible yet cumulative. Imagine a moment in middle of a busy day. Perhaps you are walking down a crowded street. The noise of the city rises around you. Most people would rush, their minds spinning with the schedule and responsibility. But you stop for just a few seconds. You feel the air brushing against your skin. It is cool or maybe warm, but it is simply there. You notice it without judgment. You see a color, a vibrant red in the sign, or a mute green in the planter. Your jaw unclenches. Your shoulder drops. The mind wants to rush back to worry, to think about tomorrow or 100 other things. But you return again to the sensation. You are anchored. These 10 seconds may be like nothing, but over time, they build a scaffold safety in your nervous system. Your body learns that it can relax without danger. This practice is the form of subtle but the powerful neuroscience. Attention is like a muscle. The more you train it to rest in the present, the stronger it becomes. Neuronal network associated with sensory processing, emotional regulation, and attentional control are a strength. The brain that once lived to worst scenarios now has pathway for presence. The nervous system, once primed for threat, learned to recognize safety. Anxiety no longer dominates the landscape. It becomes a whisper, a low hum that no longer detects action. So the presence is not only about solitude. It permeates relationship. When you are grounded, your capacity to engage with others deepens. Conversation becomes richer because you are truly listening, truly attending. Social cues are no longer overwhelming, which trigger but invitations to connection. You begin to notice the subtle in expression, in tone, in gesture, and empathy becomes accessible. You realize that the grounding in yourself radiates outward. A nervous system resilience is not merely a personal resource. It is a relational, shaping the way you inhabit the world. But the grounding is not always easy. The mind is a master of distraction. All habits of rumination, worry, and planning die hard. Sometimes the 10 seconds feels like an eternity. Sometimes the brain resists pulling you towards imagining threat, rehearsed catastrophe, or the endless scroll of information. At every moment of the presence, every sensory anchor is a subtle act of resistance. So each pause, each attention to sensation, rewrite the script of your nervous system. And over weeks, the transformation becomes noticeable. Your baseline arousal lowers, your panic threshold rises, your experience of stress shifts from chaotic to manageable. Grounding as a lifestyle is also an invitation to curiosity. When you notice the texture of a surface or the subtle variation in light and color, life becomes laboratory. Ordinary experiences become rich with data. You observe without evaluating. You notice without reacting. The brain trained in a curiosity begins to relax its need to predict, to control, to escape. Presence becomes pleasurable, not effortful. And this is where the cognitive transformation occurs. Grounding is not just bodily or sensory. It is deeply connected to thought. When you anchor is in the present, thought arise and pass. They are no longer directive, they are observed phenomena. Anxiety that once felt unstoppable now becomes manageable. You recognize thought patterns without being pulled into them. The mind learns reflection over reactivity. You become the observer and the navigator simultaneously. So the nervous system supports this shift, offering a platform for both emotional regulation and cognitive flexibility. There is also a temporal transformation. Our anxious brain lives in the future, anticipating threat, rehearsing escape, imagining worst-case scenarios. The ground brain lives in now. This is not an abstract philosophical idea. Neuronal pathway for fear and anticipation quiet, brain regions associated with attention and sensory integration strengthen. The shift is gradual, cumulative, transformative. Panic becomes less frequent, stressor loses their intensity, and the body's signal of the alarm softens, and presence becomes habitual. The lifestyle of the grounding is about integration. It is not an isolated practice, but a continuous thread through all aspects of life. The way you move, the way you breathe, the way you see, touch, and relate becomes infusion with awareness. Daily life, commute, conversation, meals, even course becomes a series of opportunity to practice presence. The ordinary transforms into a rich sensory landscape, a field of nervous systems training. And over months, these repeated moments of attention accumulate into resilience, flexibility, and emotional stability. The brain rewires itself naturally, organically, through practice rather than theory. At some point, the transformation reaches a kind of culmination. You notice it subtle way first. Perhaps the mind does not immediately spiral when plans change. Perhaps your body no longer reacts with the tension to every minor stressor. Perhaps social interaction feels more effortless. This is turn. Presence, one intentional and effortful, become a default state. You live more fully in sensory reality. And then life itself changes. You realize that the grounding is not a tool to be used in emergency. It is a lifestyle, a way of being. It shapes perception, thought, emotion, and behavior. So grounding, once a tool, is now your way of life. The nervous system, trained in presence, support a mind that can navigate the future without being consumed by it. Panic, once a constant companion, is now a rare visitor. Stress, once overwhelming, is now manageable. You live fully in the sensory present, not as an escape from the world, but as engagement with it. So my friend, this is not an end point. It is an ongoing journey. Each moment offers the opportunity to anchor, to notice, to arrive. Life in its ordinary moments becomes extraordinary. The brain and body trained through consistent presence support a lifestyle of resilience, curiosity, and calm. The nervous systems, once reactive and the vigilant, now offer stability and clarity. And you, the inhabitant of this transformed system, experience life fully, sensory by sensory, moment by moment. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next episode.